Ladies and gentlemen, I understand that God never leads backward, he only leads forward. And with the director that will be giving this grounding presentation, with ICHST, she has been able to advance ICHST forward on several fronts. Help me together receive our indefatigable R&D Director, Dr. Mrs. Tina Olubukola Isiche. I thought that hand clap can be bigger.
Media, we ready? I want to appreciate every one of us for coming to day 2 of ICHST 2025. And we appreciate those who were here yesterday, and they're also here with us today. It means that they believe in us. So I'll be speaking this morning to us about knowledge transfer, innovation, and localization, empowering Africans for sectorial ownership. Our outline will be in this format. We'll take a short introduction. We'll look at the challenges, which I'm sure are obvious to every one of us here. Some of them were highlighted yesterday. Then we'll look at how to drive knowledge transfer, how to cultivate a culture of innovation as exporters of raw materials while relying heavily on foreign technology. These are obvious facts, that we already know. So the challenge is therefore a transformational and attitudinal one, not just technical. From some of the things we heard yesterday about ethics and all, the challenge we face in this sector is not just about technology. We need an attitudinal and transformational mindset. So Africa already has a skill. What it needs is the right mindset, institutional courage, and I dare say the political will to do the right thing. So what are the challenges? Heavy dependence on foreign technology, weak research and development ecosystem, limited local manufacturing and service capacity, policy inconsistencies, and funding gaps. And we can add more to that list. Now that takes me to the core of what we'll be talking about, this morning. So knowledge transfer. What is knowledge transfer? Comparing knowledge transfer versus training, are they the same? Maybe not quite. And I will just highlight a few things that I think are differences between the two. Now, what knowledge are we transferring? Who is to transfer the knowledge? How is this knowledge supposed to be transferred? So let's look at what knowledge transfer itself is. It's a process of sharing or disseminating knowledge, information, skills, and expertise. And it can be from one person to another. It can be from department to department, or even to from one organization to another, ensuring that the recipient can understand and apply the knowledge effectively. The key word now is being able to apply the knowledge that has been transferred. The knowledge to be transferred should be current and up to date. Now, this is a requirement to run today's oil and gas industry with our ever-changing dynamics and technology. I dare say that we have enough experts within the country to transfer this knowledge, and what we need is a structure to make it happen. Several years ago, I don't know whether it's still happening in the sector now, those days of cross-posting, where we have staff of our Nigerian staff going on cross-posting to other countries. That took place, over several years. And I'm sure that those people who partook of that or who participated in it are experts enough to transfer knowledge. What I'm saying is that I don't believe that we need to look outside to the West to transfer knowledge. Those that we need to transfer knowledge, this knowledge, are available with us, in the country. And I dare say some of them are in this room with us. The idea in the past that whenever you're talking about knowledge transfer, it has to come from international people to local people. I think we should discard that right now. We have enough expertise in this country. What we actually need is a structure to put it in place to make that knowledge transfer happen to the younger generations. And one person that is very passionate about the younger generations, and it's to challenge those of us who are experts in the field, who have been there for so many years, to make sure that we don't pass on with this knowledge without transferring it. And I have a case study with Renaissance African Energy they launched out during the Energy Summit, this year, is Nigerian-led consortium with majority Nigerian ownership. If they can do it, it just affirms that the technology we need to transfer is resident with us in the country. The knowledge to be transferred is to Nigerians by Nigerians, or if we put it on the African scale, to Africa by Africa. So Africans by Africans. And if we go all over the world today, I usually make boast that there's no part of the world you go to that you don't have PTI graduates there in the oil and gas industry. And the statistics are there, to prove to that. Many of them, having obtained their diplomas, have gone ahead to have higher degrees, PhDs, and some of them have become captains of industry. That is just PTI. And I know that outside of PTI, there are also other professionals that have been produced in this country. The West keep taking them from us. So I emphasize again that the knowledge that we need to transfer is resident with us in Nigeria. Now, knowledge transfer versus training, are they quite the same? Maybe not. So I just highlight three things that make them differ from one another. Training is a formal process of teaching specific skills and knowledge. While knowledge transfer is a broader concept of sharing expertise. Training is a component, just a component of knowledge transfer. Knowledge transfer, on the other hand, includes formal methods like mentorship, hands-on experience, and fostering a culture that encourages sharing. For training, the goal is for an employee to know something. The goal of knowledge transfer is for them to be able to do something with that knowledge. And I highlight, they must be able to do it independently. And this can only be achieved by constant practice and repetition. Now in PTI, our training are usually hands-on. So we'll say we'll transfer some form of knowledge. But the kind of knowledge we are talking about here, it's not just the one you need to pass your examinations. It's the one you need to be able to apply to work in the field. And this can only come through mentorship, through hands-on, and then by you doing it repeatedly. And I usually just, on the lighter note, I was, and I think I still am, very good in mathematics while I was in secondary school. And A1, I ended up with A1. So we did a subject called bearing. Maybe some of us can remember, where they teach you about directions and all that. I always passed. But put me on the road to locate somewhere, I won't be able to. So I'm just trying to use that to depict, yes, in the classroom, it was an A with bearing. But when you put me in practice now to find my bearing, most times I usually got lost. And I tell people that I'm one of those people that Google Map is for, because after I tried severally and I was failing at it, the moment I knew about Google Map, I just felt that my problem was over. And it still is. My daughter is also like that. First class student, best graduating student, passed all the mathematics, but put her on the road, she can't seem to find her bearing. I'm only saying that to let us know that knowledge transfer and training is not exactly the same thing. So that takes us to the next slide. So how do we get to do it? Now, today, knowledge is a currency for industrialization and growth. And effective knowledge transfer must be done through joint ventures, structured training programs, university-industry collaborations, and mentorship. These are all the things we need to take ownership of the sector. Furthermore, we must strengthen technical education and vocational training through institutions such as the Petroleum Training Institute, PTI. Equipping African professionals with advanced technical, managerial, and research skills, countries can cultivate a workforce capable of managing upstream, midstream, and downstream activities. Takes us to the next one, which I'm quite passionate about. Okay, no, that's under innovation. Now, again, how do we do that? Create industry-academia partnerships for skill development, promote mentorship and joint ventures with international oil companies, establish knowledge hubs and digital training platforms for our local engineers and entrepreneurs. If we must transfer knowledge, and if we just want to pay lip service to all that we have been talking about here, We must be ready to do this. Then finally, leverage on the PIA to enforce technology transfer and obligations. Some of the things that came out yesterday is that we have all the paperwork, we have all the legislation, we have everything in place, but our problem is how to make it happen. Now, innovation, what is innovation? It's the successful implementation of new ideas that introduce new or improved goods, services, or processes. It involves renewing or changing an existing product, service, or business model by applying new methods, techniques, or successful ideas to create new value. Now, the key word in innovation is newness and improvement. It's not an innovation if it's not improving on what was before. And then it must be adding value, and it must be solving a problem. I dare say, therefore, that there is no innovation until it is implemented. If it's still there in the lab, if it is still there on the shelf, then it's not yet innovation. Innovation only can be talked about when you have fully implemented it. It is not limited to technology alone, as it can apply to business models and services. However, I dare say that in today's world, one technology or the other is involved in virtually every kind of innovation you want to do. Yesterday, we were upstairs going around the exhibition stands, and one of our students did a prototype crane, motorized, and it was using remote control, to move it and to power it. And like the PS asked yesterday, how do we get this? How do we scale this? Because for as long as it's still there, just there like that, the world cannot benefit, from it. Cranes are not new. I'm sure we all know about cranes. But I think what is unique about this one is that it's being done here locally. And for that implementation to work, it has to be implemented and scaled up. So why do we need to innovate? Innovation drives the adoption of digital technologies such as automation, robotics, data analytics, which streamline exploration, drilling, and production. For example, we have the digital oil fields and predictive maintenance systems. It helps us to reduce downtime and production losses. Now, digital innovation such as blockchain and AI auditing systems enhances accountability and reduces corruption. I'm one of the people that believe that the reason why we don't want to adopt technology to do some things in this country is because some people just want corruption to keep thriving. Because when you put technology in place, it makes processes transparent. And it is that transparency that many people don't want. That is why somebody has to be there. Technology makes it such that many times you don't have to interface with anybody to get things done. But in Nigeria, we don't seem to want that technology because somebody somewhere wants to benefit from the system. So I'm only saying that if we innovate, it helps us to enhance accountability and it helps to reduce corruption. So through innovation, Nigeria can shift from technology importation to technology creation. Innovation can create new markets for Nigerian entrepreneurs in equipment design, software services, and energy data analytics. Now, how do we bring it into training, which is our own core point as PTI? Innovative training models such as virtual simulation, digital twins, and AI-enabled learning platforms can transform technical education and workforce competence. I found out that when you have seen something, whether in real life or virtually, it's different from when you have not seen it before. In the olden days, and maybe it's still happening now, science was taught abstractly. And that is why many people couldn't follow through. But in today's world, there are simulations to make things easier for people to understand. Collaboration between institutions like PTI, universities, and private innovators ensure continuous learning. This will help us to produce highly skilled, innovation-driven workforce capable of managing Nigeria's oil and gas assets independently. Then we need to promote university-industry research partnerships that adapt global technologies to local conditions. Finally, collaboration between industry and academia for teaching of modules. I will keep saying this. I said it in 2023, and I'm saying it again. We need that partnership to be able to develop to be able to enhance our content delivery. In other words, those with the experts, those who are the experts who have been on the field 30 years, probably even retired, we need them to bring that experience to the classroom, to be able to join us in teaching the modules that we're teaching the students. And like I said at the beginning, what we need is a structure to make that happen. So let's move to empowerment. How do we do this? Empower local service providers, the NOGIC Act and the PIA. Expand fabrication yards, modular refineries, and research centers within Nigeria. In PTI, we have an ultramodern welding and fabrication workshop. And some of the things that were displayed in our stand yesterday were things that were fabricated, by our students. I want to commend NCDMB for what they have been doing, in this regard, in terms of empowering local service providers. So let's celebrate them. But I'm saying that we can do more. They've done quite a lot. They are doing a lot right now, but we can do more. Prioritize Nigerian ownership and participation across upstream, midstream, and downstream activities. And then we must ensure that women and youths are part of the energy chain. Until the women and youths are involved, we can't really say that we have localized. So what's the way forward? Provide funding incentives for startups to develop oil field technologies. Foster collaborations between universities, research institutes, and private firms. Again, I want to commend the PTDF for what they have been doing, in that regard. But again, like I said, we can do more. Promote local procurement of goods, tools, and services. Encourage local manufacturing of drilling equipment and refinery components. There are some of these components that can be produced. At least we can have the prototype produced in PTI between our welding department and our mechanical engineering department. Develop centers of excellence for petroleum innovation. PTI can be one of them. Support indigenous companies to access capital and contracts. So, I'm suggesting as a way forward, in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term. So for short term, we can enforce existing local content regulations, establish pilot knowledge transfer programs, and create national oil and gas innovation hubs, innovation funds. Then in the medium term, that's 3 to 7 years, we need to develop regional centers of excellence, build capacities of our indigenous service companies, and standardize professionalism, professional certifications across Africa. Apple was with us, last year, and while we were talking, one of the things that came out under building the workforce for the sector is how do we standardize certifications across Africa so that when we say this person is a diver here or has this certificate here in Nigeria, trained here, that can be applied, across board. And if we say somebody was trained in another West African country, this training is so standardized that that person can work, in any of the other countries. Then long term, 7 to 15 years, achieve majority indigenous participation in upstream projects, transition from resource dependency to diversified energy-led industrialization, and then we position Africa as a hub for oil, gas, and renewable energy information. I remember one of the panelists saying yesterday, that is Dr. Essel, that we must also make it that sending away our raw materials and bringing in finished products is unethical. That unethical practice is not just about the general, that even those in government need to recognize that it is unethical to export raw materials and bring in finished products. So how do we implement the triple helix model? It's a framework for economic and social development that emphasizes the collaboration relationship between the academia, industry, and government. Until this is done, nobody can run it alone. The government can't do it alone. The academia don't have the resources to do it. The industries that have the resources don't have the time because they are pursuing their profits. They are profit-oriented. But the three must come together. And for government, we need them for policies and grants. For the industry, they need to provide research opportunities, training opportunities, grants, and placements. And then for the universities, we have disciplinary and interdisciplinary knowledge and innovation and knowledge transfer skills. Together, they create a sustainable innovation system. In conclusion, true ownership begins with knowledge. You can't grow above what you know. So if we must grow as a nation, if we must take ownership of the sector, we must be knowledgeable, and then we must transfer that knowledge. Knowledge transfer will build our capacity. Innovation will drive competitiveness, and localization will ensure true ownership. Together, these three will form the foundation for sustainable national prosperity. So I dare say again that Africa has what it takes to take ownership of the sector. Engineer Tangod was speaking yesterday and talking about some of the things he did as a very young person, you know, working in Shell, that even the whites were amazed and said somebody this young cannot be occupying this kind of position. He's Nigerian. And we see them all across the globe doing excellently well. I think the question we should be asking ourselves is that, why do we perform so excellently outside and we can't put our house in order? Somebody said from the West, and each time I read that quotation, it grieves my heart, that Africans are only good at talking, talking, and talking. And when it comes to implementation, nothing is done at the end of the day. I'm hoping that after this conference, that something will be stirred up among the three players that we have talked about in the Triple Helix model, so that when we come back next time for another ICHST conference, we'll be talking about some steps that we have taken forward to achieve some of these things that we have spoken about here. I want to thank you very much for listening.